welcome to Trust Your Doctor. I'm Dylan.
I'm Kiyan.
And this is that podcast where we try not get killed getting our fluid link back.
From the Daleks. Yay.
Well, you seem awfully happy.
The Daleks. No, but we watched the Daleks, the second serial of Doctor Who.
Yeah, so,
And it was good.
Mostly. It got a little slow at the end.
Okay, let's just
so what's
jump
coming?
right into...
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we wanted to make corrections from last week's episode that some stuff we said that was
completely
just
messed up.
Wrong.
So color television was being experimented on back in the 50s, but Europe didn't start broadcasting in color television until 1967. So there's that for you guys. Also, the person who put the title theme together was not named Barbara, as I previously incorrectly assumed. She was named Delia Derbyshire. I think it's pronounced Derbyshire. Or if you pronounce it like British places that end in shire, it would be Derbyshire. But, Delia Derbysshire.
Like the Shire from Lord of the Rings, or the Hobbits.
I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, nor read it. That's on our list for other things to do.
Right, and, oh yeah, the death count. The old woman died.
Yeah, we forgot to add the old woman to the death count. So starting of this podcast episode, our death count is actually at 2.
And a lot more people die. Spoiler in the Daleks. A lot of people die.
More so than the previous serial.
Yeah, so,
A funny thing happened while we were watching the serial, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It's just when it was, I think,
Okay.
episode 6 or 7?
Yeah, one of the last episodes of the serial. So we watch these at school, because that's just the best time to,
yeah, it's the best time that we're both in the same place at the same time.
We're
not watching it during class. Don't get any wrong ideas.
But we watch it, like, at school, and, just go ahead and explain it. I don't know what to say.
So we were watching it next to this classroom that has this big window, and this teacher teaches inside there who we both had last year, and so we were watching outside, and we had the volume turned up a little loud-ish. And
It was, like, all the way up.
Okay, it was all the way up. And about halfway through the class period, because we both don't have a 6th period, so we watch it during 6th. About halfway through the class period, the blinds open, and they're just looking at us.
Laughing.
And we're just like, hey, and we're waving awkwardly.
And they started signaling to us that they were hearing it and stuff, and we're like, oh, you guys can hear it. And then
we moved tables. And then we thought it was pretty funny that they could hear us, but that they only realized, like, halfway through the period that it was us. The best part was when they opened the blinds, the Daleks were speaking, and they were like, we must detonate nuclear bombs and destroy the planet. So that was interesting. I can only imagine what they got out of what they were hearing. So that happened. And then, so I guess from there we'll just dive right into a summary of what happened this week.
Yes.
You can go ahead and start
this. The Doctor and co wind up on this dead planet, and that's what the first episode's called, the dead planet. And they're in this, like, petrified forest and stuff. And I liked the exposition for this serial, the first episode, the whole start of it, because it interested me more than
An Unearthly Child?
Than an Unearthly Child. Just the Daleks and the Thals. But anyway,
we didn't actually meet the Daleks till the 2nd episode, right?
Yeah, we didn't meet the Thals until the 3rd. Unless you count
the Daleks talking about the Thals as meeting them.
Or the Susans freak
yeah.
out. Anyway, so they're in this forest, and they're kind of exploring, and they find this city that the Doctor really wants to go to, and everyone else is like, no Doctor, let's just leave.
Like, borrowing the scientific mumbo-jumbo the Doctor gave in the last episode about not being able to take them home or whatever.
Yeah. But, So the Doctor's like, okay, fine, we'll leave. So they go back to the TARDIS.
And the Doctor sets it up so that they're about to leave, and he pushes all these buttons, and then...
And then, yeah, apparently this thing called the fluid link isn't working, and it needs mercury. So the doctor's like...
Well, first of all, Ian asks, do you have a backup fluid link? And he says, no, never needed it. And then he says, do you have backup mercury? And he says, no, never needed it.
So that's... The doctor's like, they must have mercury in the city. So they go explore the city. And Susan has this kind of weird incident.
Because she's still weird.
And she's still insecure, I guess. Because she's in the forest, and she thinks she sees something. She does see something, and
as we find out later.
What is that picture right there? Is that what the hell is that?
That's right at the end of the first episode.
I know it's Barbara.
That's
okay.
within the right at the end of the first episode. After Barbara gets lost, and the Daleks find her.
I know, but it's so weird. Okay, we have the Wikipedia page for the Daleks open, and the
we can get information.
The picture is just Barbara with this
The
hilarious.
plunger.
I know
It's just cheap sci-fi effects.
It's the Dalek arm thing. Anyway,
it's a plunger. It's a toilet plunger.
So nobody believes that Susan saw
anybody.
anybody.
And then they find this tin of
drugs.
Drugs.
That's what they call it. They're like, hey,
They call them drugs, and then the doctor's like, cool, I want to examine these. Put them back in the TARDIS. So they put them in the TARDIS.
And then they go to the city.
And then Barbara, they split up for whatever reason. It's probably a bad idea. They still haven't realized at this point that the city is covered in radiation, like the rest of the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And so Barbara goes off. And then the doctor... They split up into 3 groups or 2 groups? I don't remember. Was it 3?
Heck if I know. But I just know Barbara gets kidnapped because she's...
Barbara gets trapped by the Daleks, and the Doctor, Ian, and Susan are confused, and the Doctor's dying from the radiation.
Yeah.
And
then they find Barbara, and then they get kidnapped by the Daleks. The machines.
At some point during this, the Doctor tells Ian that the fluid link is actually completely normal. Nothing is wrong with it.
This is into the second episode now, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Doctor is just
because they find all this equipment, and they find a Geiger counter that's at like maximum radiation. I'm like, what? There must be mercury in here. And then the Doctor's like, no, we never needed mercury. The fluid link's completely fine. I just wanted to come visit the city. And Ian had the reaction that everyone would have, and he's like, what? Why? You're gonna get us all killed. And then they get captured by the Daleks. And then,
yeah. And Ian gets his legs blown out.
Not literally.
Yeah, okay.
The Dalek shoots him, and his legs go...
They get paralyzed. And the Dalek is like, next time I will disable them completely. Yeah. I like the way the Daleks speak. It's just like, we must detonate the neutron bomb. We have become accustomed to radiation.
Spoilers. So...
That was such a stupid... Not stupid, but just... I guess, I don't know, plot device-y idea that the Daleks got used to radiation and now can't live without it. Anyway.
Okay, so they're captured, and Susan talks to the Daleks. Was it Susan? So one of them talked to the Daleks and find out the entire history of the planet. Oh, it was the Doctor. It was the Doctor.
Uh-huh.
And they find out the history of the planet, which is... There was like this war between the Daleks and their enemies, the Thals. And they detonated a neutron bomb, which wiped out all living life, except apparently some of them survived.
Yeah, the Daleks stayed in their... The Daleks now, they live in the city because they're afraid of the radiation, so they live, like, underground and in the protected city or whatever.
And the Thals have some anti-radiation drug that the Daleks want, so they can go outside.
Mm-hmm.
So the Doctor realizes that that drug they picked up earlier was probably the anti-radiation drug.
Yeah.
But the Doctor's too weak now to go anywhere because he's still dying from the radiation.
Yeah. Who seems to be the only one dying from the radiation. Like,
he is an old man.
I know, but like, is really the radiation, the max radiation doesn't affect anyone else.
Well, they started like when. Okay, so they're gonna send someone off to go get the stuff, and it was gonna be Ian, but his legs are still paralyzed. So
they send Susan, even though she always freaks out about stuff. But I guess she's better than the Doctor who's dying, or Barbara who was...
who's useless.
Yeah. Barbara's still useless. Nothing's changed in this serial, so... So they send Susan out into the forest.
And then everyone starts dying from the radiation all of a sudden. Ian and Barbara start dying.
Yeah.
And Susan...
then she meets Aladdin.
No,
No, it's
Aladon. It's
Aladon.
Aladon.
It sounds like Aladdin, like when they say it.
It's Aladon. And he gives Susan some more drugs to...
No, let's explain who Aladon is.
Oh, well, he's just some random guy in
Yeah,
the tribe.
he's like the leader of the Thalls, though.
No, the leader was Tamosis.
Yeah, and then he dies, and then oh, whoops, spoiler.
That doesn't happen yet.
Okay,
So Aladon realizes that the Daleks have Susan's friends captured, so he realizes some of the Daleks must have survived. So he gives Susan some more drugs to take back to her friends, and so she comes back and she gives the drugs to the doctor and what's her name, and Aladon wants what's her name, Barbara, and Ian.
What's her face?
And they get better, and the Thalls want Susan to negotiate something with the Daleks so they can live in peace.
Yeah, they just want to negotiate a peace treaty because...
Apparently the war never ended.
No, because it's been generations and they're still living in fear, but
Yeah.
the Thalls want to make amends with the Daleks. And one thing that they never really elaborated on was that at first the Daleks thought that the Thalls were like mutated creatures and stuff.
Yeah. But
And
they're not.
they kind of just
No,
never...
I thought they did. The doctor... Remember the doctor's looking at those records and he says that the Thalls are mutated, but what they mutated in was into those people who didn't want to fight. Like, the mutation amplified their sense of peace, so they became those...
Okay, I guess. Yeah, I mean, when
And
you think mutation...
The Daleks mutated into angry... Ow, I just cracked my finger.
I'll crack my fingers.
Okay, so... where were we? Right.
They want to negotiate a peace treaty,
So
basically.
the Daleks dictate to Susan something to write out, and they write it, and they send it, and then the Doctor and Ian are like, oh, damn, it's an ambush, it's a trap. It's a trap! Admiral Akbar.
And,
So they escape.
No, so the Daleks put out like this food as like a sign of peace, but then there was this really cool scene, or at least I thought it was really cool, where the Daleks were gonna ambush the Thalls, and then Tamosis, the Thal leader, like comes up to accept their peace treaty, comes into the city to accept their peace treaty, and the Daleks are like hiding, and there's this pretty cool music playing. Did you notice the music then? It was like
Yeah, it was like...
yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a terrible description of it, but I thought it was really cool. I liked that scene, and they used that piece of music one other time later.
Yeah.
And then Tamosis dies.
So that brings our death count up to 3.
3.
Then they escape. Did they escape before the ambush?
Nope, they escaped. Nope, did they? I don't even know. I think this is the time where we started getting...
No, it was... They did escape before the ambush, because remember Ian yelled out, Get out, it's a trap! No, that was the second time.
Yeah. There's a second ambush.
The second time. No, so they escape by putting mud on the Dalek. Okay, so the Dalek brings them food like every hour, and they like scraped this mud off of Susan's shoes, and they made a mud ball, and they put it on the Dalek's eye. Well, first they jammed the door, and then the Dalek came back to investigate, and they put the mud on the Dalek's eye,
Ian
and then he was like,
in.
help, out of control. And then they open it up and take out whatever was inside, which they never show us. They just
There's something inside of it. I mean, they take
something alive.
I don't know. It's
Well,
like
later
a
they showed that
human
scene where it was like, they took him out using a coat that the Thals gave to what's her name, Susan.
And then Ian gets. That was just a funny
Ian
sequence.
gets in.
That was just funny. Like the
funny one was when he couldn't get out, and he's like, "Help, guys, help! Get me out of here!" So apparently the Doctor and Ian together can lift up the top of the Dalek head, and then Ian can get in. But then later, when they're trying to get Ian out, the Doctor, Susan, and Barbara combined couldn't lift the head. So what we can imply, by using our mathematical reasoning, is Ian is stronger than Susan and Barbara combined.
Well, Barbara is like equal to 0. If we're gonna bring math into this, Barbara is 0. Barbara is nothing. Anyway.
So, yeah, Ian's in there. There's this really dramatic scene where he's getting out.
It's pretty funny, actually. I guess it was supposed to be dramatic. It was actually kind of funny, where he was like, no, you have to go on, but he's like trapped in the Dalek little thing.
But he gets out, and they escape the city and meet up with the Thals. And what happens from there?
That's when they learn the history of the Thals.
The Doctor's fascinated.
Yeah.
Like, they're showing the Doctor the records, like, wow, this is amazing. It's fascinating.
So the Doctor wants to just leave.
Yeah. The Doctor wants to leave.
He wants to just abandon the Thals and the Daleks and their whole conflict.
It's not their problem.
Yeah, and I mean this kind of.
I mean, it kind of isn't, but
it kind of brings the Doctor back, I guess, to how he was in the pilot, maybe a little bit. I mean, maybe to a lesser extent, but I mean,
well, it's still close to what he was in the first serial, where he's like, no, we should. It's basically the same thing he did in Unearthly Child, where Zar was injured, and then Ian wanted to go back and save him, and the Doctor was like, no, let's go to the TARDIS and leave. This isn't our problem.
Well, I think it was Ian, Barbara, and Susan who all wanted to go back, and
yeah.
And this time Ian agreed with the Doctor. He wanted to leave because remember there was that whole scene with Barbara. With Ian and Barbara.
Where Ian understood what the Doctor was saying. Well, no, that was later. There was the one where Ian stayed behind, and
What?
We just received a note by our super secret courier system.
Okay.
And that's the title of the episode.
Okay.
So, where were we? Oh, right. So, well, no, the first time the Doctor wanted to leave, but they had to go back for the fluid link.
Because Ian freaking left it in the city.
Yeah, because the Doctor, when he took it out to show Ian that it was fine, Ian took it and put it in his jacket, but then when the Daleks captured them, the Daleks took the fluid link from Ian. So they're like, damn, we have to go back.
Oh, yeah.
But then the Doctor tried to make another fluid link, and then he realized, oh, damn, I actually don't have mercury. We're gonna have to go back.
Okay, and what I thought when all this was happening was the Daleks is like are super popular villains, right? So what I kind of thought when we realized that they had to go back to the city was that maybe their viewership was just really high, and they're like, let's just continue with this this storyline instead of having them leave, just to continue with the Daleks and the Thals. Even though it kind of wouldn't have really made sense if they just abandoned them there. It kind of would have left a lot of...
It would have decreased... I think if they had just left it there, regardless or not of whether the Daleks were popular, it would have decreased viewership because people would have been like, wow, those people are dicks, and they just left those people to die. And people would have been drawing comparisons to the first episode, like I said, where they went back to save Zar. And then they'd be like, why would he go back to save Zar? But in this episode, they just abandoned the Thals.
That's true. I mean, I guess,
so,
yeah.
I mean, if they didn't resolve the conflict somehow, they probably would have destroyed a large portion of their fan base.
Yeah.
So they got to go back for the fluid links. They come up with this really elaborate plan, which in the end is completely worthless.
Yeah, basically. They basically split up into two two infiltration parties to infiltrate the city.
So one of them has to go through the swamp that's infested with deadly animals.
Yeah. And the other one just
gets in
walks into the city
and disables the things.
That was the whole thing. They infiltrate the city through the swamp, right? They think it's such a good idea because they want to be all sneaky. But
it kills two people.
And all the other times they just walk into the city. They can just... No one stops them. Like the first time they go into the city, and like the other search party that goes into the city, they just walk right in. They're just in there. So it was actually a terrible idea to split up.
Yeah, two people get killed by the swamp party. One gets killed in the swamp, and one gets killed jumping over a crevice.
Yeah, Antidus dies. Want to explain the Thal characters?
Yeah.
So there's Timosis, who was the leader who died. He got killed by the Daleks.
In the ambush, the first one.
Yeah. And there was Aladon and Dione, I guess was his wife or whatever, his girlfriend.
I think so.
They don't really explain who the sidekick female companion is here. Her name's Dione. It's kind of what they did with her in the last serial. They just kind of threw her in there. She doesn't really do anything. She does less than her, actually.
I think Antidus was Aladon's brother?
No, Antidus and Ganatus are brothers.
Right. Oh, yeah. Antidus and Ganatus.
Yeah, they're just two brothers.
Not that they ever used their names anyway.
They did, like, once.
Yeah.
And the Antidus and Ganatus go with the Ian Barbara swamp search party.
So,
and
Antidus Antidus is the one who died jumping over the crevice.
Yeah, okay, so want to go ahead and explain that whole confusing trek through the swamp?
Yeah, there wasn't much to explain except they found these pipes leading out of the swamp and the lake, so they assumed the Daleks got their water from the lake, so they went through these caves, which they thought was a good idea for some reason, thinking there was a way into the city.
It wasn't a good idea. Two people died.
Yeah, one died in the swamp getting water. He was just some random unnamed guy, I think. Or maybe that was... I don't know. That was... One of the two people who died was Antidus.
Yeah, Antidus died from falling, because I remember Antidus and Ganatus, when they were in the cave, had this whole discussion, because... Was it Antidus who wanted to... One of them wanted to
go back.
Yeah, Antidus wanted to go back and just say that Ian and Barbara were killed by the Daleks.
Yeah, give up on that.
Yeah, and then Ganatus was like, no! And then Ganatus saves Antidus, but Antidus still dies by falling down a cliff. And
I think he sacrificed himself to save the rest of the group, though. Because he was like hanging off the rope, and then he cut himself off the rope so that Ian could climb back up.
That whole scene was just confusing. 'Cause it was
dark, and we couldn't see Jack Diddley just go on.
Yeah, we were just like, what is going on here? Why? Just
at some point during this, the Doctor is really proud of himself for disabling the Dalek security cameras. He's like, look at me, I'm a genius. Like, basically those exact lines to Susan. She's like, yes, we have to go now. And then the Daleks show up, and he's like, oh, oops. Then there was that scene about the Daleks adapting to radiation.
Oh, yeah, that was
weird. The drug was poisonous to them because apparently they needed the radiation to survive. So they're going to detonate a bunch of nukes to add more radiation.
No, that scene where the Dalek takes the drug and, like, starts spinning around and stuff.
Yeah.
He was like, help, what is going on?
All the other Daleks are just looking at him. Out of control, help.
Oh, and then the Daleks give the drug to more Daleks, like the leader Daleks give them to like other Daleks to like test it or whatever, and end up killing a bunch of their own. And
which we're not gonna count in the death count because we don't have an official number.
Right.
Probably like 100. Who knows? So then more people from the tribe just walk into the city.
Yep.
And then they meet Ian and Barbara and Ganatus and Aladon.
And the doctor and Susan got captured. And the Doctor tried to reason with the Daleks, but the Daleks were basically like, no,
the Doctor was
we are going to detonate the bomb anyway.
The Doctor tried to convince them that he had this magical ship, and then he showed them the fluid link, and that happened.
And they're like, we will reverse engineer it.
Wait, they did?
Yeah, remember? Because he was
like...
that. No, he was like, if you let me go, I'll explain how to use the fluid link. And they're like, we have it in our possession. We can just reverse engineer it.
And then they somehow kill all the Daleks. Didn't understand that.
Barbara throws a... Okay, so they ambush the swamp search party and the city search party. People. They both
find the Doctor.
Yeah, they free the Doctor and Susan. And they kind of... The Daleks are having this countdown from like 100 to detonate the bomb.
Well, they're at like 10.
They actually go down from 100 though. They don't skip any numbers.
Yeah.
So, but they get ambushed by the Thals and the main characters. And Barbara throws a giant rock at one of the Daleks. I guess he dies. I'm not sure. But there's this whole...
So they're like about to plug in to activate the bombs, and then they changed the thing, and they redirected things.
And then like two Thals, like there's this scene where the Thals are just getting shot by the Dalek.
Two of them die.
Beam thing. Two of them die.
I love the special effects for the shooting. They just invert the film.
Go into negative. But yeah, so the death count is now at 6. 7. Actually.
7. Gotta count the old woman.
Right.
7.
Freaking old woman. But they stop the countdown. They deactivate all the Daleks.
All of the Daleks die, I guess.
Death count like 350. No, we're not counting.
We don't know a number for that either.
And then the Thal
sublist entire Dalek race killed once.
Yep.
At the end, entire Dalek race has been genocided 5 times.
So
they commit genocide, basically. They are literally Hitler.
They start out going for a peace treaty. They end up committing genocide.
Yep. And so the Thals try to...
The Thals are Hitler.
They try to get the Doctor to stay with them, and the Doctor's like, no, we have to go. And so
they do.
Go back to the TARDIS and they leave.
Okay, there's this scene at the end.
And then, well, first of all, the Thals are like, we will worship you forever. Something like that.
There was that scene at the end with between Barbara and Ganatus that was
right.
an implied romance.
Suddenly romance.
That wasn't even touched upon during any of the other episodes.
Right.
So I kind of felt it was shoehorned in, but I know
then she left, and it was like, whatever.
No, but I know maybe by the end of the serial, what I was thinking was that the serial was super popular, right? So they're like, okay, we'll probably reintroduce them somewhere down the line, which maybe they weren't planning when the serial started out. So then they wanted to just set that up maybe for next time.
Maybe. Which I feel like still all the episodes in the serial were produced before even the first episode aired.
That's probably true. Yeah, they probably do have... I mean, they probably produce them 6 months ahead of time or so.
Probably.
Maybe they knew they were gonna come back to the Daleks and Thals. And they wanted to set that up. And so, I mean, if they go back, if they retouch upon that next time the Daleks and Thals show up, then I'll be fine with that. I'll think it's actually good, because Barbara will actually be doing something.
Yeah, they filmed it like a month in advance. It says here the first episode of the serial aired on the 21st of December, 1963, but the second episode of the serial was filmed on the 22nd of November, 1963, so... That means they filmed it at least a month in advance.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the 23rd of November is the assassination of John Kennedy, 1963.
Yeah. And that's... They re-aired the first episode, like...
Yeah, because of that.
Yeah, the first episode aired on... Was it the actual day that JFK was assassinated?
It was nearby.
Yeah, so they thought that viewership would be down because people would be,
mourning. But this was Britain, and they didn't really care, so...
I mean, they probably did. I don't know. But they re-aired, the week after they re-aired it.
They re-aired the first one, and they aired the second one with a re-airing of the first one. So I think that wraps up the summary of those episodes. I wonder how long that took. Couldn't see the timestamp. I'm just going to assume it was...
17 minutes, like last time.
17 minutes.
Yeah, we didn't really incorporate the other things.
That's okay. What was your favorite scene? I think you mentioned earlier.
The ambush scene, definitely, with that cool music playing. Again, there was only one song during the entire serial that I actually noticed. Last serial, it was the Cal versus Zaw scene.
Yeah.
This time it was the ambush scene. There was other music playing, obviously, but I didn't really notice it.
You're looking at the music a lot more than I am. I think I'm looking at the visuals and you're looking at the music a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think music can really add or, in some cases, detract from a show. In the case of Doctor Who, I think it adds. I mean,
yeah,
because if you don't notice it, then whatever. It's not a negative or a positive, but there are some pretty cool scenes that have some pretty cool background music to them that I really liked.
I think if I was going for humor, my favorite scene was when they gave the Dalek the drug and he was just spinning around. Help! What is happening?
I liked when Ian was in the Dalek suit and they were just... That
was also pretty funny.
They were just pushing him.
Well, they had to make it look like the Dalek was taking them for questioning, so the Doctor was like behind him, pushing him discreetly with Susan and Barbara in the front. But then the other Dalek made the Doctor stand in front, so he was pulling the Dalek now by the weird plunger thing. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Again, though, Ian has done most things with Susan and the Doctor. The Doctor does quite a lot. Susan does a little bit, and then Barbara does nothing. Hasn't really changed at all, which I'm kind of disappointed about. They should really try and, in my opinion, equalize what they do. Have Ian maybe have Ian do a little bit less. Susan do slight bit more. Maybe keep the Doctor where he's at.
Barbara just do more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at this point, I'd say there's no reason for introducing Barbara because she hasn't done anything except be the kidnapped catalyst person.
And suddenly romance.
Yeah, but because if they didn't have Barbara, if she was just written out, or if she wasn't in the show in the first place, they could have just had the Doctor or Susan get kidnapped.
Yeah, if Barbara didn't exist at this point, I don't think the storylines would have changed at all. Honestly.
Yeah.
Well, there was one scene where I felt like Barbara was used.
The one where she threw a rock at the dog.
No! There was the scene where the right at the end when they got the fluid link back and they were trying to can't remember exactly what was happening. They got the fluid link back and the doctor wanted to leave and the Barbara said no. And then Ian said yes. And then told them to go and then he stayed behind. He told them to go, and then he would stay behind and help the Thals.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the only time so far that we've seen Barbara used, because Susan was just kind of like, and Ian agreed with the doctor we should leave, but Barbara was the one who was like, no, we should stay and help the Thals, and then Ian told them to leave and stay behind.
No, but honestly, in my opinion, for that, they could have just written that into Susan's character. I don't think it would be too out of character to have Susan say we should stay behind and help them.
Yeah, they could have, but I still felt like this is one of the first times we've seen Barbara used.
Well, hopefully that becomes a trend, because she really needs to do something.
Barbara!
And didn't the doctor actually tell Barbara she was useless? Maybe not that exact wording, but like, during this serial, he's like, Barbara, you need to start doing stuff. Or did he? I don't
remember, but there was the doctor calling Ian Chesterton Chesterfield.
Oh yeah,
the doctor has this weird thing where he calls Chesterton like Chesterfield and Chesterton and other.
His name is Chesterton.
It is Chesterton, but it's not. He called him Chesterfield once.
And like the first episode of the serial, the doctor's like, Chesterfield, go do something, and then later he does it again, and
then Ian just calls him out on it. He's like, I'm not going to be helping you if you couldn't call me by my right name. It's Chesterton.
Yeah, but that was actually the actor just forgetting Ian's last name. It was, what's his name?
William Hartnell.
Yeah.
I found this video yesterday while just watching YouTube videos. It talked about how Hartnell kept forgetting his lines on set, and it was annoying for the other actors because they couldn't pick up their cues. Although another theory would be that the writers just writer inconsistency and then they tried to retcon it to fix it. I think the more likely theory is Hartnell just forgot and was like, Chesterfield. And the writer's like, no, William, it's Chesterton.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but I kind of have, just to a small extent, but I feel like there's sometimes just awkward pauses in the dialogue. Or maybe not in the dialogue, but maybe just in the flow of the episode, like a character will be saying something and there's this few seconds of just nothing, or like a character will be doing something and there's just a few seconds of nothing and then something else will happen.
I think that was more prevalent in this serial probably because they were just trying to draw it out a bit. Like,
really? You think so?
Well, yeah, the scene underground when they were jumping the crevice and Ian was like, do it, come on, you can jump, just take a running jump, and then he took 3 seconds before he started moving back really slowly, and then he started running forward, which could have been reduced to like a 2-second thing.
But yeah, I mean, I guess a sort of reasoning behind that would be that, I mean, it's from the 60s, so they didn't have advanced editing technology. So
cut film.
Yeah.
Cut film. Boom.
Okay, I guess it is that simple, but
well,
so not that I'm forgiving them. Well, I mean, not that I was mad in the first place, but not that I'm trying to make excuses.
Right. I think a lot of it can probably be attributed to them drawing it out. There probably was a bunch of awkward dialogue pauses. Probably.
Get on that, actors. Get on that. No.
We want perfection.
But yeah, as far as special effects went in this serial, let's talk
inverting
about
the film for Dalek shooting things.
Yeah. It was...
Which was really...
It kind of threw me off.
Yeah, the first time it happened, I was like, what? And then, by the 7th episode, when they did it every 10 seconds, you understood what was happening, and you're like, oh, you can stop now. I get it.
Yeah. It was kind of strange. It just,
Oh, speaking of characters, another scene I liked was the scene where they faked the argument so they could tear off the camera accidentally.
But it didn't fool the Daleks at all. They were just like, there's no possible way this could have happened.
Accidentally. Good scene, though. Seeing the Doctor and Ian work together.
Barbara didn't do anything in that scene either, did she? It was the
She kind of told Ian to stop because they were faking the argument where the doctor was like, we should talk to the Daleks and understand, and Ian was like, no! And the Bible was like, Ian... Oh, no. Well, Bible was like, stop to one of them, and then Susan jumped on Ian's back and then tore the camera off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Barbara was useless. Again. Surprise.
What else is there as far as characters go? I mean...
As far as characters go, I think that was basically it.
The Thals were pretty...
Interesting.
The only interesting thing with the Thals, I thought, was the Antidus and Ganatus sort of...
Relationship. Their brotherly.
Well, just their sort of argument in the cave. Other than that, they were kind of just there. Like, Aladon, I guess, was the main Thal, but he didn't... He did stuff, but he didn't have that interesting of a character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But they were necessary, and they were written well, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
But back to the special effects.
Special effects. The only real special effect I can remember was the inverting of the film for the Daleks.
Was it? Was there anything else?
No, I don't feel like there was. There was that weird food machine in the TARDIS.
No, it's not so much a special effect as it is just
weird
bacon and eggs in a bar. I guess in the 60s people were really interested in like futuristic ideas like that. I mean, like the whole Jetsons idea.
They spent a good 2 minutes talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry about it, Ian. It's bacon and eggs in a bar.
They eat Earth food. They're aliens and they like eat Earth. And there was that.
Well, we never saw what the doctor was. What was in his bar? He was just eating a bar.
That's true.
And he made 2 bacon and eggs for Barbara.
And then remember, Ian was like, the bacon's a little salty, and the doctor's like, it should be. It's English or something.
Guess that was a jab at English culture that we completely didn't understand.
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
South Africa. Close enough, right?
He's South African.
Close enough.
His accent is weird.
It is a little. Okay, back to special effects.
No, but that was it for special effects.
That was...
They didn't do anything. Not that they needed to. The Dalek suits looked good. Not gonna lie. The Dalek suits looked good.
Yeah.
But a complaint I had, similar to the cavemen in the
previous one.
The Thals all look really similar.
Did they?
I thought so. I couldn't tell
Antidus
and Ganatus
at least the females all looked different. The
was
males were basically all the same.
There's only... Dione was the only...
No, there was like 2 or 3.
Yeah, they were just background.
Yeah, but they all look different, though.
Yeah, that's true.
The males were all pretty similar.
I mean, Tamosis and Aladon, were kind of, you know... I was kind of confused on who was who at times.
Timothy.
Jake Quillen. Anyway,
D-Nice.
So I was kind of sometimes confused when they were on screen at once. Maybe that was just... Maybe we can just attribute this to the fact that we're watching them in a pretty
2014.
Yeah, and in a pretty sketch manner too, like low quality outside.
We could probably see it better if we were inside, but don't have that luxury right now.
Yeah, even our recording setup is pretty sketch right now. Anyway,
we won't make reference to what it is. Let's not
get into that. But Antidus and Ganatus, I guess, looked pretty similar, but they were brothers, so.
Right. So that covers sound and special.
The dialogue helps you
figure out what was going on, especially in the cave scene where it just looked like a black screen because it was a dark cave.
The cave scene honestly was written like it was a radio drama serial thing. It was. Because, like, I don't know, I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. And
maybe that's why they wrote it like that, because you weren't going to be able to see anything, so they had to write it so you could figure out what was going on. I don't know. That's
true. But that's what I was thinking while I was watching it. Like, I was thinking this could be the same scene with no images. Do you think... Because... Do you think our watching it on, like, a modern day computer monitor is affecting our enjoyment of it? Because, like, back in the day, people would have been watching it on their old TVs.
Well, back in the day, they didn't have anything better to compare it to.
Exactly. Maybe we're just too new-fashioned.
2014, watching, like...
Yeah, maybe this was...
Transformers with super CGI
No.
has spoiled our love for old-fashioned special effects.
In the original 80s Transformers cartoon, in the year 2000, and they show a guy on a hoverboard.
Similar to Back to the Future, where there's a hoverboard in 2015.
They're gonna have those. Okay, they're gonna have those.
Get on, man!
Next year.
Mattel, get on, man!
They better have bacon and eggs in a bar by next year. I mean, come on. They really need that.
Mega Man taking place in 2000 and X, and then they had to change it to 2000 and XX. Because we didn't have any of the technology they wanted.
We need robots to do stuff for us.
No,
I mean, why...
It's a Terminator situation.
Why use scissors when you can create an expensive robot to cut stuff for you?
Well, I'm assuming if you're going to make a robot to cut things for you, you're going to have it do other things as well. Like mow the lawn.
Well, it had boomerang scissors. Cutman had boomerang scissors. So he could just, like, stand in front of the lawn and be like, whoosh, and cut all the grass at once and be like, done.
No, where you would hire Cutman is a fabric store. Where you've got you just have the fabrics from the ceiling, and then when you need it cut, you call in Cutman, and he just goes, whoosh.
He could have cut Ian out of the Dalek armor.
How did he get out of the armor?
It never explains it, actually. He
couldn't get out of it when the Dr. Barbara and Susan were helping him, and then he told them to go ahead, so they went up the elevator, and then the Daleks come and just blow up the suit, and then he's not in there, and he comes up the elevator, and it's just never explained how he got out the suit.
Maybe we're too hung up on them not explaining things. Maybe we should just kind of
But I feel like
to imagination.
even if all the other ones are irrelevant, this one is a major inconsistency. Because if Ian couldn't escape with the Dr. Barbara and Susan trying to open it, how did he get out himself?
Well, I know when he got up the elevator, he said, I just managed to get out when they had just barely 2 inches of cutting left to do on the door.
Yeah, because they're cutting... Yeah, but that still doesn't...
It still doesn't make it make sense, but... I don't know, I don't want to get too... Personally, I don't want to get too hung up on just trying to make sense of everything, like... I don't know.
Yeah, well, most of it can just be suspension of disbelief, but I know when we were watching it, I think the only one of the only ones I pointed out while we were watching it was the fact that Ian shouldn't have been able to get out of that alone.
That's true. I mean, yeah.
If it's glaring enough that you notice it when you're watching it and not when you're doing a retrospective on it, it's probably should have been picked up.
We should read the novel and see if it's different. This serial has a novel.
This is the first serial that was novelized.
We should try.
Where would we even find a copy of the novel?
eBay, man, eBay. It's probably worth a crap ton, though. Like, it's probably so much money. But yeah, we should read that. We should definitely read that. You can probably find it online somewhere.
I don't think.
Not that we should, but
no. If it was gonna be online, someone would have had to either type it in manually or scan it in. And scanning in a book from '63
would be the same as scanning in a book now.
Yeah,
books haven't changed much.
But the people who are gonna own this book from '63 are gonna be the ones who don't know how to use technology.
Not true.
I mean, not necessarily, but the majority of them. The majority of people who own this book will be people who are fans of the original series that ended in the 80s. So they're going to be the kind of people who are like 40 years old now, who
even more
might not even necessarily own a scanner.
They could have passed it down to like someone else, or just sold it. Or
I'll say the majority of people who own this book would be fans of the original series, unless you're like us, just doing it for the hell of it.
But we don't own the book,
right? We've gotten on a lot of tangents in this episode.
We should buy this book and type it in manually, and just screw all copyright laws, and just have it available.
No! A waste of...
That would be a waste of
couple days.
It can't be that long.
Well, To Kill a Mockingbird, if you type it 70 words per minute, it'll take you 24 hours exactly to type in To Kill a Mockingbird. So if it's longer than To Kill a Mockingbird, that's already more than 24 hours of work.
It's probably not. And by the way,
It's a 7-episode serial.
But think of how much content To Kill a Mockingbird has, and think of how much content these 7 episodes would have condensed into a book.
I mean, we read about
written
the book.
from Ian's viewpoint.
Yeah, but it also disregards the first serial, so it has to introduce the characters. So it does borrow scenes from the first serial where they introduce the characters and go to the junkyard.
Okay, so that's still, if they included the first episode, that's 8 episodes worth of material from Ian's viewpoint, so that's discounting like some of the scenes where it's just the Doctor and Susan, and some of the scenes where it's Barbara. So I still think that would be shorter than, like, I don't know, To Kill a Mockingbird, for example. Still think it would be shorter.
I don't. Guess we'll look that up for next week.
Well, we can just look it up right now.
That's a good point.
We have the Wikipedia page open. We have technology. In print. Release number... Release number 16? Does that mean there were only 16 copies released?
No, that means
it was the number 16 in the Target Books Doctor Who library. It was released in 73, 10 years after the serial came out.
Hey, look, it was translated into Dutch, Turkish, Japanese, Portuguese, French, and German.
Let's read it in Turkish. Down. Oh, it's an audiobook. Okay, let's see how many pages this has.
I don't see it anyway. It doesn't say. Oh well. Guess we'll look it up next week.
That can be our
correction for next week.
Oh, yeah.
That new segment of this episode that we introduced.
Destiny of the Doctors, that Doctor Who video game we were looking up before. That looked terrible.
No, that's the one that takes place entirely within the TARDIS. Then there was that other one we looked at that had Doctor Who themed Pac-Man, Space Invaders. Another one.
Doctor Who themed Pac-Man. Imagine the Doctor's head just waka 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 waka.
What would he be eating?
Daleks? I don't know.
No, the monsters would be Daleks.
Okay, the ghosts would be Daleks.
Yeah.
Inky, Pinky, Blinky, and... What's the fourth one's name?
Clyde.
Yeah, Clyde. Freaking Clyde.
The orange one.
Is he the orange one?
Yeah, Clyde's the orange one.
Can be Timosis, Antidus, Ganatus, and Antidus.
No. Okay, is there anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this up? We covered special effects, we covered sound, we covered characters, we covered a summary, we covered corrections.
We kind of just did the same thing with the summary, even though we wanted to sort of incorporate everything into the summary this time.
Oh well.
Goals for next time. It's always good to have goals.
And that lists.
Yeah.
Like we said last episode, make lists.
Our death count's at 7 at this point, so that's nice.
That's sketchy, official, unofficial, death count 7.
Yeah.
Plus the genocide of the entire Dalek race once.
How do they come back?
Guess we'll find out next season.
I mean, they get reactivated somehow, I suppose.
I think the next serial with the Daleks
is in season 2.
Yeah.
We can wait until season 2. Even though season 1 is somehow, for some reason, longer than the other seasons.
Yeah, I think the next episode is the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Is the title of the next serial where they show up? I believe.
They should find another radiated planet.
There are other ones where they show up. It might be Destiny of the Daleks. Might be the. Oh no! Okay, here the Doctor. Of the Daleks. No, Destiny of the Daleks is when the Doctor next returns to the dead planet.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Dalek Invasion of Earth is the next appearance of the Daleks.
The Daleks should just find another radiated planet instead of trying to destroy planets.
I think the radiation thing never comes up again.
That's dumb. That was the whole point of this whole 7-episode serial.
Guess we'll find out next time the Daleks show up.
Guess so. So what happened at the very end? Oh, it was that, is the scene at the end where they're in the TARDIS and they're going somewhere, assumedly back to 1963, England, Earth, wherever the hell they are. Wherever they're from.
Definitely Earth 1963. So we're talking about the
then-
French Revolution at one time.
And then
That's
everyone
the thing.
just falls down. Like, the TARDIS starts shaking, and, like, everyone falls down. And then it's like,
Well, the Doctor
next
does this really
time.
fancy spin move when he falls down. Like, spins around and falls.
yeah. So yeah, what are we watching next? The
The Edge of Destruction.
sounds interesting.
Exciting. Right?
Action,
It's only
excitement.
2 episodes.
That's good. We're already starting to go insane from watching so. We
We're
watched 7 episodes.
Yeah, we watched 7 episodes this week and 4 the previous 5. So we're 12 episodes of Doctor Who now in 2 weeks.
It wouldn't be that bad if we didn't watch. If it wasn't like 2 a day.
Yeah, I mean, it would be better if we watched 1 a day, but just because we had 7 episodes this week and 3 days to watch it, and we had to do 2, 2, and 3.
Schedules.
But this week,
That we
2
don't
episodes for 5 days.
Oh
We're
yeah.
gonna watch.
Even though I like it, I don't know. I like it.
It's
but
fun,
yeah,
exciting.
It is fun.
Once we get to the second Doctor, we can start discussing
Doctors.
which Doctor's better.
Which we can start discussing witch doctors. You know, like
Which?
like shamans. That should be one. The Doctor should regenerate himself into a witch doctor.
It's a terrible idea.
It is, but he should do it anyway. They should write it in, and then he should regenerate himself into like an MD.
I don't think he can intentionally regenerate into things. I think it just happens.
It should just happen that he regenerates himself into like a dentist or something.
He can change his name to the Dentist.
Dentist who?
On that note,
The end? Is this
the end.
Oh yeah, we have a website. We wrote that on the list of things to
Oh.
mention.
Right.
Mention this site, decorativevegetable.com. Visit it.
In fact, if you're listening to this on right now, it's on our website. We will be on iTunes soon, hopefully.
Look us up.
Look up the website.
it.
Everything you need to know is on the website.
Do it.
And now we'll finish for real.
Okay.
Peace out.